Okay, so we're going to take a really quick look at Pascal's triangle. Your job is going to be to fill in Pascal's triangle, but I'm going to talk about a few of its features and how we can fill it in to start. So we've been talking about discrete functions and creating sequences, which is just a one-dimensional list of numbers. Now, Pascal's triangle is kind of like a two-dimensional sequence in the sense of there's a pattern using previous values, but we actually use two previous values on the above rows. So the way Pascal's triangle works is we get new numbers in the row below by adding the two numbers above it. So we can add 1 and 2, we get 3. We add 2 and 1, we get 3. We add 1 and nothing, and we get 1. And then here we'd add 3 and 1, we get 4 below. We can keep going. 1 and nothing, we get 1, so we end up with 1s along the outsides. And, we could find this one here, so 4 and 6 is 10. And from there, I'll let you continue the pattern and fill it in. And in order to check your final line here, I wrote the last line on our triangle, although the Pascal's triangle goes infinitely down, but we aren't going to use that many values. So you should be able to check. One thing you can notice, especially at the bottom here, is that Pascal's triangle is also symmetrical. And that kind of makes sense with the pattern in which we're using to generate numbers. So we get 1, 9, 36, 84, 126, and then 126, 84, 36, 9, 1. Here we get 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, and we would get a 1 here. So there's some symmetry to it. Okay, and there's one last thing to talk about before we go on, and that is how we identify the rows. So Pascal's triangle is a little unique compared to our other discrete functions in that we begin by labeling row 0. So we call this row 0, and then this is row 1, row 2, row 3. Okay, so one of the ways we can identify it is the second position is the row number, right? So this is row 0. There's no second position. You can imagine there's like an infinite amount of zeros everywhere where Pascal's triangle isn't. Row 1, row 2, so 1, 2, 3, row 4. This would be row 5, and if we add the 2 above, we get 5, etc. So this bottom one here is row 9. Okay, so that's something that's going to be important, the row numbers, in that it starts at the top with row 0 when we do our next lesson. All right, so I'm going to give you the exercise of filling in Pascal's triangle, and you can double check your answers when you get to the bottom by adding the 2 above to make sure you're getting these values down here. If you're having a lot of trouble finding a mistake, you're like, I'm not getting the values, or yours is no longer symmetrical, that's another key insight as to where maybe you've made an error and you can't figure it out, you can just look up Pascal's triangle. But when we do this later, it's important that you're able to at least create the first few lines on your own, maybe with a calculator or something like that, and be able to fill in Pascal's triangle.